The notification on my phone showed a deposit I never made from a government agency I'd never heard of. I'm Captain Frankie Kirkland, 32 years old, Air Force intelligence officer, currently stationed at Joint Base Andrews, Maryland. Been deployed here for 8 months running counterintelligence operations. My phone buzzed during a classified briefing about foreign surveillance activities. The timing couldn't have been worse. The alert came from my credit monitoring app, Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Deposit amount, $3,847. Date, yesterday. Location, Phoenix, Arizona. I'd never lived in Phoenix. Never applied for rental assistance. Never even heard of this program. My first thought was identity theft. Happens to deployed military all the time. Criminals target us because we're overseas. Can't monitor our accounts closely. But this felt different. The deposit went into my actual checking account. Someone had my real banking information, my social security number, my military ID details. I stepped out of the briefing room and called my bank's fraud department. 20-minute hold time. The representative, Maria, pulled up my account history. Sir, I see the deposit you're referring to. It was processed through an emergency rental assistance application submitted 3 weeks ago. The application shows your current address is 2847 Desert View Lane, Phoenix, Arizona. That's not my address. The application was submitted with your military ID number, social security, and employment verification from Joint Base Andrews. Everything appears legitimate on our end. I asked her to email me the application documents. My hands shook slightly as I opened the PDF files on my phone. There was my signature. Perfect forgery, my military ID scan, my pay stubs, even a lease agreement for the Phoenix address I'd never seen. Someone had built an entire fake life for me in Arizona. Someone with access to my personal documents, my military records, my banking information. Someone who knew exactly how these government assistance programs worked. The signature looked too perfect, like someone had traced it multiple times to get it right. I scrolled through my recent account activity. 3 more deposits over the past month. Pandemic unemployment assistance, small business relief fund, emergency food assistance, total $11,293. All sent to addresses I'd never lived at, all approved with documents I'd never signed. My phone buzzed again, another deposit notification. The new deposit was for $2,156. Veterans Emergency Housing Grant. Another program I'd never heard of. Another address in Phoenix I'd never lived at. I walked back to my quarters and pulled out my laptop. Time to dig deeper. My uncle Marcus had helped me set up my banking when I first enlisted 6 years ago. He'd been a Navy finance specialist for 12 years before retiring. Said he wanted to make sure I didn't get screwed by predatory lenders targeting young military. He'd driven me to the credit union, helped me fill out the paperwork, even co-signed my first car loan. Marcus knew all my personal information. Had copies of my military documents from when he helped with my emergency contact forms. He'd insisted on being my power of attorney before my first deployment to Afghanistan. Just in case something happens, Frankie, family takes care of family. I'd trusted him completely. He was my father's older brother, the one who'd stepped up after Dad died when I was 17. Marcus had been at my graduation from basic training, my promotion ceremony, every major milestone. He'd even helped me buy my house in Maryland before this deployment. But Marcus lived in Phoenix. I opened my laptop and started searching. The rental assistance program required proof of residency, employment verification, and financial hardship documentation. Someone had submitted all of this using my identity, claiming I lived in Arizona and needed emergency help. I called my buddy Rodriguez in the finance office. He owed me a favor from when I'd covered his duty shift last month. Rodriguez, I need you to check something for me, quietly. What's up, Kirkland? Someone's been accessing my military records. I need to know who's requested my employment verification letters in the past 3 months. That's going to take some digging. Give me an hour. While I waited, I created a spreadsheet of every fraudulent deposit. Dates, amounts, programs, addresses. The pattern was clear. Someone had been systematically applying for every available government assistance program using my identity. They'd started small with a $847 food assistance deposit, then gotten bolder. The Phoenix addresses were all different, but they clustered in the same neighborhood: Desert View Lane, Cactus Ridge Drive, Sunset Mesa Court. I pulled up Google Street View: modest apartment complexes and rental houses. The kind of places where people moved frequently, where landlords might not verify tenant information too carefully. Rodriguez called back. "Kirkland, you're not going to like this. Your employment verification has been requested 7 times in the past 2 months. All requests came through the Family Emergency Contact System." "What does that mean?" "Someone with your emergency contact authorization requested the documents. Says here it was for insurance claims and rental applications. The requests were approved automatically because they came from your designated family representative." My stomach dropped. Only one person had that level of access to my records. "Rodriguez, who's listed as my family emergency contact?" "Marcus Kirkland. Your uncle. He's been authorized since 2019. I hung up and stared at my laptop screen. Marcus had been using his emergency contact status to request my military documents. Then he'd been forging my signature and applying for government assistance programs, claiming I lived in Phoenix and needed financial help. But why? Marcus had a good job at a defense contractor. He owned his house, drove a nice truck. He'd never seemed desperate for money. I opened my banking app and looked at the deposit details again. Each fraudulent payment had been transferred into my account, then immediately moved to a different account. I'd missed it before because the transfers happened within hours of the deposits. I called my bank again and asked for the transfer details. The money was being moved to an account at the same credit union, registered under Marcus Kirkland. He wasn't just stealing my identity. He was stealing government assistance money, meant for people who actually needed it. Using my military service and deployment status to qualify for programs designed to help struggling families. The amounts were getting larger. The latest deposit was almost twice the size of the first one. Marcus was getting greedy or desperate or both. I needed proof, real evidence that would hold up if this went to court. I called my friend Jessica Chen, a military police investigator stationed at Fort Bragg. We'd gone through advanced training together 2 years ago. "Chen, I need advice. Hypothetically, if someone was committing identity theft and benefits fraud using military records, what kind of evidence would you need to build a case?" "Hypothetically, bank records showing the fraudulent transactions, copies of the forged applications, documentation proving the victim never lived at the claimed addresses, and ideally, recorded conversations or digital communications showing intent." How would someone get recorded conversations? Hypothetically, the victim might call the suspect and ask direct questions about the suspicious activity. If the suspect admits to anything, that's admissible evidence in most states. I thanked Chen and hung up. Time to call Marcus directly. He answered on the second ring. "Frankie, how's the deployment going, nephew?" "It's going fine, Uncle Marcus. Hey, I had a weird question. My bank called about some deposits I didn't recognize. Emergency rental assistance from Arizona programs. You know anything about that?" Silence for 3 seconds. Then, "Oh, that? Yeah, I helped you apply for those. You mentioned money was tight before you deployed, remember? I thought you could use the help." "I never asked you to apply for anything." "Well, you were stressed about the deployment. I figured you forgot. No big deal, right? It's just government money sitting there. Might as well put it to good use." "Marcus, I never lived in Phoenix. How did you apply for rental assistance for an address I've never been to?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Look, Frankie, these programs have more money than they know what to do with. Nobody gets hurt. You're deployed, serving your country. You deserve every penny. You forged my signature. I helped you access benefits you're entitled to. There's a difference." "How much money are we talking about, Marcus?" "I don't know, maybe 15,000, 20,000 total. It's not like I kept it all. I've been saving most of it for you. Consider it a deployment bonus." $20,000. He'd been running this scam for months, systematically stealing government assistance money using my identity and military service. "Marcus, this is fraud. You could go to prison for this." "Who's going to report it? You? I'm family, Frankie. I raised you after your father died. I helped you get where you are today. You owe me. The line went quiet. I could hear him breathing, waiting for my response. I need you to stop, Marcus. Right now. No more applications, no more transfers, and I want every penny returned to the government programs. Or what? Or I report this to the authorities. Marcus laughed. You won't do that. You're not going to destroy your own uncle over some paperwork. Besides, you benefited from this too. Your account received the money. You're technically complicit. He hung up. I sat in my quarters, staring at my phone. Marcus had just confessed to systematic fraud, threatened me, and implied I was somehow responsible for his crimes. He'd stolen my identity, forged government documents, and stolen thousands of dollars meant for people in genuine need. And he was right about one thing. He was family. The only family I had left. But he was wrong about everything else. I called Agent Rodriguez the next morning. She answered on the second ring. Captain Kirkland, I was expecting your call. How did the conversation go? He confessed. $20,000 across multiple programs. He's been running this for months. Did you record it? No, but he admitted everything. Rental assistance, stimulus payments, emergency relief funds. He used addresses in Phoenix and Tampa that I've never lived at. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. We need more than a verbal confession. Your uncle is smart enough to deny everything if we confront him directly. We need documented evidence. What do you suggest? A controlled operation. You arrange another meeting with him. This time, we record everything. Get him to repeat the confession with specific details about the fraud. I'd never run a sting operation against family before, but Marcus had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. What would that involve? We set up a meeting. You wear a wire. Get him talking about the specifics. How he obtained your documents, which programs he targeted, where the money went. We need enough evidence to build a solid case. And if he refuses to meet? Then we pursue this through the financial records alone. But a recorded confession makes everything cleaner. Faster prosecution, better chance of full restitution. I thought about Marcus's threat, about how he'd raised me after my father died, about the $20,000 he'd stolen from programs meant to help struggling families. Set it up. Rodriguez connected me with Agent Lopez from the Drug Enforcement Administration. Apparently, Marcus's fraud had triggered alerts in multiple federal databases. The DEA was investigating whether the stolen funds were connected to larger criminal networks. Captain Kirkland, we've been tracking similar fraud patterns across several states, Lopez explained during our video call. Your uncle's operation fits a specific profile. We believe he's part of a larger identity theft ring targeting military personnel. You think he's working with other people? Possibly. The addresses he used in Phoenix and Tampa are connected to other fraudulent applications. Different names, but similar patterns. We need to determine if your uncle is running his own operation or if he's part of something bigger. The scope was expanding beyond what I'd imagined. Marcus wasn't just stealing from me. He was potentially part of a network stealing from multiple service members. What do you need from me? We want you to arrange a face-to-face meeting. Get him to explain his entire operation. How he recruits targets, where he gets the documents, who else is involved. Make it seem like you want in on the scheme. You want me to pretend I'm interested in joining him? Exactly. Tell him you're impressed by his setup. Ask how you can help expand the operation. Get him talking about the bigger picture. The plan felt wrong on every level, but Marcus had made his choice when he decided to steal from military families. I called Marcus that afternoon. Frankie, I was hoping you'd come to your senses. I've been thinking about what you said, about the money just sitting there in government programs. And? Maybe you're right. Maybe I am entitled to more than I'm getting. This deployment has been harder than I expected. The pay doesn't cover everything. Marcus's tone shifted immediately. Now you're talking sense. I told you, these programs have more money than they know what to do with. We're just helping redistribute it to people who actually deserve it. How does it work exactly, the whole process? It's simpler than you'd think. I have contacts who provide the documentation. Birth certificates, lease agreements, utility bills. Everything looks legitimate because it is legitimate, just with different names and addresses. Contacts? People who understand how the system works. Former government employees, mostly. They know which programs have the loosest verification requirements. I was recording everything through the DEA's app on my phone. Every word Marcus said was building the case against him. How many people are you working with? Maybe a dozen active cases right now. Military personnel are perfect targets because you're deployed for months at a time. Nobody questions why you're not physically present to verify information. And the money gets distributed through a network of accounts. Everyone takes their cut. The beauty is that most victims never even realize they've been targeted. The money goes into accounts they rarely check, gets transferred out before they notice. Marcus was describing a sophisticated fraud operation targeting deployed military personnel. The DEA had been right about the larger network. I want to meet in person, I said. Discuss this properly. When? I have leave coming up next month. I could fly to Denver. Perfect. We'll set up a proper meeting. I'll introduce you to some of the key players. You'll see how professional this operation really is. After I hung up, I immediately called Agent Lopez. He took the bait. He's talking about a network of people, former government employees, multiple active cases. This is bigger than just my uncle. Excellent work, Captain. We're going to coordinate with Denver field office for the in-person meeting. This could break open a major fraud ring. The next 3 weeks moved quickly. The DEA arranged my leave, coordinated with base security, and set up surveillance for the Denver meeting. Agent Lopez briefed me on the technical equipment I'd be wearing and the specific information they needed Marcus to reveal. We need names, locations, and dollar amounts, Lopez explained during our final briefing. Get him to walk you through a typical case from start to finish. Ask about the document sources, the account networks, the distribution methods. What if he gets suspicious? You're his nephew, you're military. You're exactly the kind of person he recruits. He wants to bring you into the operation. Use that. I flew to Denver on a Thursday morning. Marcus picked me up at the airport in a new BMW sedan. Either the fraud business was more profitable than I'd realized, or he was spending stolen money on luxury purchases. Good to see you, Frankie. You look good. Deployment treating you well? Can't complain. Ready to learn about this opportunity you mentioned. Marcus drove us to a restaurant in downtown Denver. Private booth in the back. He'd chosen the location carefully. Before we get started, I need to know you're serious about this, Marcus said after we ordered. This isn't a game. Once you're in, you're in. No backing out, no second thoughts. I'm serious. I need the money. And you're right about these programs having more funding than they can distribute properly. Marcus smiled. Good. Because I've already started preliminary work on your case. What do you mean? I've been monitoring your financial activity for months. Bank statements, credit reports, address history. I know exactly which programs you qualify for and which ones have the weakest verification systems. The recording device in my jacket was capturing everything. Marcus was confessing to identity monitoring, financial surveillance, and systematic fraud targeting. How do you access that information? I have a contact at one of the major credit reporting agencies. Former employee who still has system access. She provides complete financial profiles for a fee. And the government applications? Different contact. Former Social Security Administration employee. He knows exactly which programs are overwhelmed and which ones rubber stamp applications. We target the programs with the highest approval rates and the lowest verification requirements. Marcus was giving me a complete breakdown of their fraud network. Names, methods, target selection criteria, everything the DEA needed to build their case. What's my cut? Depends on how much we can extract from your profile. Based on your military service and deployment history, I estimate we can generate $30,000 to $40,000 over the next 6 months. And you keep how much? Standard rate is 60-40 split. I handle all the paperwork, manage the accounts, deal with any complications. You just provide the identity information and stay deployed. 40% of stolen government assistance money. Marcus was treating fraud like a legitimate business partnership. When do we start? I've already submitted 3 applications under your name. Emergency rental assistance, utility relief, and supplemental nutrition benefits. Should see the first deposits within 2 weeks. Marcus had been expanding his fraud operation against me even while we were negotiating. He'd never intended to stop. He'd been planning to increase the theft. I want to meet your contacts, the people who provide the documentation. Not yet. You need to prove yourself first. Show me you can handle the pressure when the money starts flowing. Some people get nervous when they see government funds hitting their accounts. I can handle it. We'll see. Marcus paid for lunch and drove me to a coffee shop across town. 2 people were waiting for us in a corner booth. A woman in her 50s and a man about Marcus's age. Frankie, meet Sarah and Tom. They handle the technical side of our operation. Sarah looked like a retired government employee. Conservative dress, careful mannerisms, the kind of person who'd spent decades processing paperwork. Your uncle tells us you're interested in joining our program, Sarah said. That's right. Military personnel are our most reliable partners. You understand operational security, you follow instructions, and you're deployed for extended periods. Perfect for our needs. Tom leaned forward. We've been running this operation for 3 years. 0 prosecutions, minimal complications. The key is volume and diversification. We never hit the same program twice with the same identity, and we spread applications across multiple states. How many people are involved? Active participants? Maybe 40 or 50, but we have a network of several hundred identities we can activate when needed. The scope was staggering. Marcus wasn't just running a small family fraud scheme. He was part of a major criminal organization stealing millions of dollars from government assistance programs. What happens if someone gets caught? Sarah and Tom exchanged glances. That hasn't happened yet, but if it did, the network is compartmentalized. No single person knows the complete operation. Except you 3? We know our piece, Marcus said. Sarah handles documentation, Tom manages the financial networks, I recruit and manage participants. Nobody has the full picture. The meeting lasted another hour. Sarah explained how they obtained authentic-looking documents through former government employees. Tom described the network of bank accounts and money transfer services they used to move stolen funds. Marcus outlined their recruitment strategy targeting deployed military personnel. By the time they finished, I had enough recorded evidence to destroy their entire operation. So when do I get started officially? I asked. You already have, Marcus said. Those applications I mentioned, they're already in the system. You should see your first payment within 10 days. And if I change my mind? You won't, Sarah said. Nobody walks away from free money. They were wrong about that. I flew back to Joint Base Andrews the next morning. Agent Lopez was waiting for me at the security office. How did it go? Better than expected. I have everything you need. Names, methods, financial networks, recruitment strategies. This is a major operation. How major? 40 to 50 active participants, several hundred stolen identities. They've been running this for 3 years across multiple states. Lopez smiled. Captain Kirkland, you just handed us the biggest military identity theft case in DEA history. The arrests happened simultaneously across 4 states the following Tuesday. Marcus, Sarah, Tom, and 37 other participants were taken into custody in coordinated raids. The DEA seized computers, financial records, and over $2 million in stolen government funds. Marcus called me from jail that evening. You set me up. You set yourself up, Marcus. I just documented it. I raised you, Frankie. I was the only family you had left. And you used that trust to steal from me and dozens of other military families. You made your choice. This will destroy me. You destroyed yourself. Marcus was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Sarah and Tom received similar sentences. The other participants got varying terms based on their level of involvement. The government recovered most of the stolen funds and returned them to the targeted assistance programs. I testified at Marcus's sentencing hearing. The judge asked if I wanted to make a statement about the impact of his crimes. Your Honor, my uncle didn't just steal money, he stole trust. He used my military service and my father's death to justify stealing from programs meant to help struggling families. He turned my identity into a weapon against the very people I swore to protect. Marcus looked at me from the defendant's table. No apology, no remorse. Just anger that his scheme had been exposed. The judge sentenced him to the maximum term allowed under federal guidelines. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.